So one of our Patreon supporters has asked me to do a video review of his E-Honda, which is cool. I'm really happy to do that. I think that's a really fun idea. I really like talking about this kind of stuff. If you're somebody who is also like a sub or a Patreon supporter of Ultra Chen TV, we're definitely happy to do this. Well, let's check it out. So we got two matches here. There's one versus a Seth, one versus a Jury. At our Patreon supporters' request, I have blacked out the names, as you can see. So basically, I'll be doing what I do when I normally do video analysis, which is that I will let each round play out. You know, I'll be talking about it a little bit, but like I'll let them play out. I won't stop the video. Then I'll go back if there's something that I want to discuss, something good, something that needs work, etc. I'll go back into that round and talk about it for a little bit. Let's talk about the Honda versus Seth matchup, huh? I personally feel like it is pretty good for Honda. I don't know that I would say that he wins. I'm not sure that I think anybody straight up beats Seth. I think they're so good, but I do think that Honda has a lot of power in the matchup. And it's just he deals so much damage, and he has pretty good ways to avoid having to deal with axe kick pressure, and he has so much damage. And he has good footsies as well, and as many strengths as Seth has. I wouldn't say that one of them is the most oppressive footsies in the game, and Honda just deals so much damage. And Seth deals good damage too, but Seth doesn't have very much life, of course, and Honda just deals so much damage. Let's begin. Okay. Classic pressure, that's what I like to see. Ooh, interesting. Okay, we'll talk about the headbutt there. Right, medium headbutt with the punish. Ooh, okay, the player was ready. It's worth taking a risk on that every now and then. So V-trigger 2 I see for Honda here. Oh. Oh boy, that was definitely activation intention for the Seth. All right, they're in. Yeah, dangerous spot for everybody, and Honda doesn't have good defensive options, so this is a tough place to be in. Okay, so the Seth is looking for jumps for sure. Oh! Okay, okay. Yeah, I do think that Honda's fine in this matchup. So let's go back and talk about some of these interactions here. So, forward strong from Seth, yeah. So Seth, like I said, as strong as I think Seth is, I think they're one of the best characters in the game for sure. In terms of footsie normals, they're not the most oppressive. It's not like Karen, where Karen's gonna hit you with the footsie normal into like 300 damage into the corner. Like it's not, it can be like that, but it's pretty hard for Seth to hit confirm crouching medium kick. It's not really the same kind of thing. So you're gonna see more like forward strong, you're gonna see down roundhouse, buttons like that. Sometimes random Hekatonkries punches. So I really want Honda to be focused on playing that footsie's game because he's very good at it. His stand medium punch, for example, I feel like is very strong in this one, in this matchup, because it can deal with each of those buttons that I was just mentioning. Stand short, I feel like is actually quite good as well. Down medium kick. He's got these normals that, you know, when you think of Honda and what he does in this game, I think many of us think of hands pressure for sure, big damage. He has good footsies. He does. And they're not, you know, if you have V-trigger active, then they can be really damaging and powerful and good corner carry, etc., etc. If not, they're just good buttons with good normals, with good hitboxes, I should say. So in the same way that like Zangief has good footsies. But they don't immediately lead to knockdowns in most cases. You get a crush counter now and then, you'll get a far stand short lariat now and then. But for the most part, as Geef, you're just doing very good buttons that will like harass people into getting worried enough to sit still so that you can get in. I feel like Honda's much the same. So that aspect of the character, I feel like has been growing in importance as people get used to how, you know, can they punish a headbutt, which this Seth player did when you did medium punch headbutt. Can they punish EX butt slam? A bunch of characters can. Like the kind of like, the things that were easy and good about Honda early now are a little bit less effective just because people have learned. So now I think that footsie's game is super important. I like this part. Yep, yep, yep. Look at, man, Seth does not have much life. You see how much that is chunking off of their health bar? Look at this. Oh, love it. So the butt slam here. Is this a specific read? I don't know if you remember, right? We play so many matches, but if this is a specific read about what the Seth player might do, might they backdash? Might they jump? In those cases, the butt slam could work. But in those cases also, if Seth player jumps forward, for example, you don't need to make a preemptive bet about that. You have Stand Fierce. You have Fierce Headbutt, EX Headbutt. Well, you don't have it yet, but you have Anti-Air Headbutt. Further than that, Stand Roundhouse as a kind of like even further anti-air button. You got these tools. You thought he might jump, right? Okay. But yeah, and that if they had jumped, I think you're right. I think this would work because it does hit on the way up. It's kind of a funky little hitbox as it goes upwards. That said, what you're trying to do in fighting games is preserve as many of your options as possible and not necessarily to deal damage at every moment, right? That sounds maybe counterintuitive, but if you're keeping your options as open as possible and making your decisions count as much as possible, then you will deal damage. But in this scenario where you make the specific read of, I think the player is going to jump, I'll do butt slam. If they jump, you're right, you deal damage. But you've also constrained yourself now. So there's only one way that this is going to work out. Maybe if they had backdash too, I don't know, it's kind of hard to notice here, but one, maybe two ways that you get ahead on this. And very specific reads like that are to be done rarely, right? In general, the better play is to make sure that you're preserving your own options so that you can anti-air if they jump, right? Not something you need to do preemptively. You can see, now reacting is a different question, right? Not easy to do, but you can see that they're jumping and get the anti-air instead. And a lot of the stuff, okay, well, before we talk about that, so medium headbutt, yes. So the player, I know, knows how to punish this. Sometimes I think it's okay to try out headbutts to see. Maybe you're just not sure. Is this player knowledgeable about how to deal with what Honda has? For some characters, the punishes on these things are hard. For some characters, they have to do like little micro walks, or they have to make a split-second recognition between medium and fierce headbutt and do different things. Like, it can be kind of tough for some characters. For Seth, as long as it's not jab headbutt, they can do crouching medium kick to punish, which is just an effective way to do it. So, okay, you test it once. I don't think that's the worst thing to do. Again, I think it's a scenario in which, ideally, probably just stay grounded. Maybe you jump, maybe you try something else, but this is going to have one way that it works, which is that the opponent, well, two, I guess, the opponent gets hit, yes, or they don't know how to punish. And so again, you're kind of like funneling your options down a little bit, and one of your options is just the hope that the opponent doesn't know how to deal with it, which is not going to be long-term effective. You usually test it, you see if they know. Yeah, again, I think it's okay to test out, especially if it's a longer set. If it's a 2 out of 3, you have less time, of course, and if the character is damaging like Seth can be, I guess this is early, so Seth doesn't have EX, doesn't have trigger yet, yeah. So this is not going to be the worst thing in the world. Testing is okay, but in general, I would say not to do it. So sometimes you get nervous and keep going back to it. Yeah, this is hard to break, right? I experienced this as well, of course. There are things that we feel are our go-to tools, and in moments of unsurety or just kind of not, be feeling nervous, that kind of stuff, we go back to them. For Honda, headbutt is a good one for that, but if you stick instead to jab headbutt, maybe that's a safer way to express that uncertainty. If you have EX headbutt, which you do, I'm sorry, EX butt slam, that's another way to express that. And again, people can punish, Seth can punish that, you just do Dragon Punch through the second hit, but you know, the likelihood of that is probably better to work out for you than medium headbutt. I know it's hard to sort of like reallocate where your like panic button is, because again, I've certainly had that experience too. But yeah, you know, try to work on expressing that through maybe jab headbutt, maybe EX butt slam if it's something that you're having trouble avoiding in general, right? Ideally, you know, top level players, they don't really have panic buttons anymore. They've kind of moved past that, but that is tough to get past for sure. Okay, yeah, I think it's okay to test a jump as well. Again, Honda deals so much damage that it's okay, right? You're gonna occasionally make that work out, and if you're firing on all cylinders, that's 400 damage or whatever, right? It's like 40%. It's more than that, I guess, versus Seth. So, not the worst idea. Yeah, there you go, right? Like the headbutt there, pretty reasonable for sure. Oh, good jump timing. Maybe I should talk about that. So as far as like why I would say good jump timing. So right, anti-air, they're gonna get the trigger activated, or ready to be activated, I should say. So okay, you jump here, and it's about here, I guess. What Seth would most like, one of the things Seth would most like, I think, would be to activate trigger. Plus frames, mix-ups, on hit, significant damage. Right, Oki again. Can go into plus frames versus Honda that Honda has trouble dealing with. It's really useful for sure. How does Seth like to go into activation? Well, the most common ways are sweep, down fierce for him, for them. Down roundhouse, the rush punch, something like that, right? So each one of those is susceptible to jumping over. I'm not sure this is what you were thinking about at the time, but this awareness of, is there going to be a likely V-trigger activation point coming up soon? Okay, I'm out of here, is a really important part of playing against characters who are just about ready to activate. Whoop, out of there, right? Dang. It's good damage, no doubt. Oh, good tech. Okay, so looking for hands, right? So down strong a couple of times here. Right. Now, down strong by itself is a really good button. Again, like stand medium punch, crouching medium kick, etc. He has these really good normals that honestly do have good buttons. Good hitboxes, I should say. So if you're just trying to take up space, yeah, absolutely makes sense to me. And this is going to be effective versus Seth. Yeah, again, like a lot of their buttons. Down medium kick, down roundhouse, forward strong. Like this, again, Honda I think has good buttons to deal with these things. So in conclusion, I think this is reasonable to do. Aye, okay, so they were actually ready for the dash. You know, okay, this is the first round, we've talked about this quite a few times, but just to reiterate, I'm okay with testing things out like that. It's okay to try things like that, you know? You have jumped, they anti-aired. You did the medium headbutt, they punished. You tried the dash, they punished. So after that knowledge, right now I guess we'll see how you handle it, but it's totally okay to test things out. The one thing I would say is that the times when you most want to test stuff out can be the wrong times to do it. In this case, Seth has you cornered. You really want to get out. Everybody would want to get out. And what are your tools to do so? Well, you have headbutt. Nice, right? You have dash, you have jump, you have that kind of EX butt, something like that. The Seth player was ready, I think, because this is the likely dash timing. when you as the Seth player's opponent, the Seth player, I think pretty reasonably guessed that you were getting worried about that. Like, look how there are tells in this, right? Tells in your decision making here. Jump, down strong many times, headbutt. I think I would read the same thing, that this player seems like they are a little antsy to get out of here. Understandably, but just be aware that your in-game body language is kind of saying, by being so active, I'm worried about being here, I want to get out. So in this little last moment, right, the dash forward, even this dash forward, not the worst. If you had backed up first, you can dash at a range that won't leave you point blank, but where you as Honda have these buttons like crouching short, stand medium punch, not crouching short, different use. Stand medium punch, crouching medium kick, crouching medium punch. Like, you have these buttons that are great hitboxes that will actually beat somebody who's trying to like react jab, because you're not in range immediately for their reaction jab, right? So that little bit of an extra distance can be effective as a dash point. Again, though, I understand why you would want to get out of this. Hey, thanks for your PhD for the sub. Much obliged. All right, so we'll let this one play out. Round 2 here. Right? And I like that you waited too. It wasn't an immediate headbutt. Important to have different timings. Tough spot. Yeah, so many plus frames. Oh, this might be stun even. Ooh, even more dangerously, yeah. Oh. Okay, nice. Honda Super does leave him pretty far, unfortunately. I wish that wasn't like that. And he doesn't even have plus frames. But again, Honda does so much damage. Oh, neutral jump. Interesting. Looking specifically for the headbutt there. Interesting. Okay. Let's backwards here then. So this is a round that's largely defined by being in the corner, which is going to happen in Street Fighter V or any fighting game sometimes. Again, I like that you had that kind of later jab headbutt. It wasn't round start go, which is the timing that many people would use. Instead, it's like trying to just throw a little funky look at them. They might not be expecting it here, and they weren't. So, reset into button. As far as the defensive urge to do stuff, we all feel that. I certainly feel that too. But this is a situation where it's kind of the first like up close reset, out of the air pressure opportunity situation, and people usually like to do whatever their most catch-all kind of option is, you know? If there's a relationship here that's already existed, you and this other player, you guys know how each other works, maybe a different story, but if this is somebody new, and it seems like it is, then yeah, usually people will just be like, all right, I'm gonna go to that, reset out of the air, go for meaty. It's just gonna be the normal stuff. Mostly, not categorically. But that tends to be true, so you can help yourself make the defensive read in situations like this by just kind of remembering or trying to keep an eye on what like number opportunity is this? Is this opportunity 1? People usually like to just do whatever the norm is. Then they like to kind of set the mix-ups up. Again, not categorically, but pretty often. And if this had been grab, right? Let's think about the difference between this is grab versus this is a hit. So out of the sky, right? Here's the penalty of hit. You were actually as mid-screen gets, and Seth has such great corner carry that the penalty for this is, I don't know, what is this, 200 damage? something like that. Maybe it's 150, 200 damage. That's the penalty. The penalty for grab is, well, what is it, 130 or something? I don't know, offhand, something like that. So it's less, and you're not going to be corner carried for sure. And Seth can harass with like forward strong, but I believe dash forward is -1 for Seth, which is pretty good actually, but not as great as some get, you know? So this is why people say take the throw, and there's that kind of advice only gets you so far. You have to make the guess eventually of something else. But again, usually on that first opportunity, people aren't going to go for the second mix-up. Not yet. So the way that I think about this is not to have this whole monologue that I've been having of like how to respond to this. Well, here are some reasons to do X. Here are some reasons to do Y. You don't have time for that in a match. So that's why I try to just categorize it as much as possible. This is opportunity number 1. Okay, hang out. Probably gonna attack. This is opportunity number 4. Who knows, right? We've already had mix-ups. It's got to build on that. Opportunity number 1, like just having kind of a rough general rule for yourself. Sometimes you break the rule. Again, you can't be the same all the time, but having a general rule is useful just because it allows your reactions to be speedier. You can just kind of go along with it rather than having to make these full inner monologue discussions happen. Right. So there have been 3 times now in which, you know, either reset or plus frames came up for the Seth player and they went for button and you also went for button. Now this is just a binary kind of, unfortunately, right? Like you're in the corner, anything is gonna stun. You know, you can't be mad at somebody for making either decision here, going for grab, going for throw tech, going for whatever, right? Like you have to do something. But to keep in mind that like the previous 2 times have already been hit maybe indicates that they're gonna go for it again. Just taking a guess here, right? It's just a bad spot to be in. Likely panicking. Okay. Yeah, it's a panic heavy game. I feel that too. But having these kind of general rules and categories that you can place things in can kind of offload the mental stack a little bit, rather than having to be so focused. Or, you know, maybe I should say, rather than if you have a plan going in, it's less likely that you'll panic. So if you have some kind of a general rule, less likely that you'll panic. If you have a kind of categorization for this player, less likely to panic because you will already have a better idea in mind. Now, not to say you'll never panic. Everybody panics at some point. But it's just about like drawing down the number of times that you will have a chance to panic by having more plans for more situations. Yeah, absolutely, right? There's so many things to do in a fighting game. So many things for the opponent to do. And yeah, part of this is about kind of making general rules and categories. Another huge part of it is being in situations many, many times. And the more times that you're in these situations, the more comfortable you'll feel because it's not something that's new. The new stuff is scarier, right? So when you see, you know, the 1000th time you run into a situation feels less oppressive than the first 900 or whatever number, right? Yeah. And that's part of that is just playing a lot. The other part is trying to be aware as you're playing. And that's the harder part, I would say, is maintaining active awareness while playing. Not easy to do. Not easy to do. Again, that's something that becomes easier with more time put in, but it requires kind of an active mindset that you know, I've found not easy to do as well, and I know for many other people, not easy to do. And you just build it by practicing it, you know? Try to maintain awareness in one interaction. If you then lose the round and you think to yourself, what happened? It may be the case that you weren't paying attention. So just go into the next round trying to focus. You know, it's the attempt of eventually it'll be something that you figure out. Yeah. Gotta make the guesses sometimes. Okay, yeah, I think that actually makes sense to me. Oh, what a jump. What a little jump. So you've done, let's see, you did 1, you did 2. They're looking for it, yeah. Yeah. I think what this player is seeing is the same kind of stuff in the first round where your choices are kind of giving a tell as to how you're feeling in the moment. You just did 2 headbutts. You had done a wake up super before that. This is probably a tell that you're trying to find some specific action, maybe that you have some go-to choice. And there's not a lot of risk for the opponent to try a neutral jump. You can absolutely do on reaction headbutt or V-trigger. Well, I guess you have V-trigger too, but you know, V-trigger 1 if you have that. Yeah, there's certainly stuff that you can do about that, but it's not like a huge risk. So what they're trying to do is kind of keep their options open, right? As we were talking about. You want to knock down to slow him down, but I didn't think he was reading that. Well, you can't be too mad at yourself. It is a read, it's just a read. That read is informed by what your previous choices were, and I think it's a pretty reasonable read for the Seth player to have made. Again, not much risk, pretty good payoff. The payoff is the end of the game, actually, so great payoff. But yeah, it's a guess. They're making a guess, you're making a guess. Each individual guess, you know, is going to be informed by what else has gone on, or if it's the first time, whatever your general thoughts are about how to approach a first situation. So you'll get them right sometimes, you'll get them wrong sometimes. That part, I don't feel like that's such a big deal. Just about trying to, you know, not look at reads as specific situations, but rather like, what's the general story that's happening here? What is each decision that you make should inform the later ones that you make, as well as the ones that the opponent is expecting you to make and that the opponent will make. This kind of like larger arc, rather than thinking of each situation individually, I think is a big part of figuring out how to approach mix-ups. Yeah, I like it. I like where you dashed into, by the way. We'll go back and check it out. This is kind of range I was talking about before. Oh, good work. Great reaction. Ooh, the fierce! I love the idea. Stand short. Oh, sick. And then the grab, in fact. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. You know, that's why we're chatting about it after all, right? So, oh, it was a little closer than I guess I had originally identified. But it's okay. This is maybe them. What are they looking for? A headbutt here, maybe? I wonder. Take a look back at their movement. Maybe. In any case, I'm down with it, right? And then the second jab hands, very classic. Was it 5-frame gap? Pretty small. Right, okay, hands. Okay, I like two things here. Yes. Okay, yes. Think back to that first game, first round of the first game, when you had a very similar situation going, right? You're doing hands there as well. Then your read is, the opponent's gonna jump, time for butt slam. And that wasn't effective. And it's only a couple situations in which it could be effective. Here, you do a much better idea. This, safe Honda pressure, right? Classic stuff for Honda. And then here, this may have been jump back because you get it immediately afterward. Yeah. So you are ready. You are ready here. You're anti-airing, you're air-to-airing, but you're paying attention to the opponent's movement up into the sky. So you know, right, in doing this, that you don't need to make the bigger bets. This is totally good. So I'm really happy to see this. I think this is great. The fierce, huh? What was the situation? Yeah, that almost worked. That almost worked. They're definitely not plus there. In, what is this? Spin kick dash. Yeah, no way. In fact, if you had done quick get up into stand fierce, you probably would have beat them. So I'm into it. I'm into it. Yeah, I'm not mad at you in the slightest, dude. I do the same thing. I do the same thing. Absolutely. But that does tend to work if you do quick get up rather than back tech. Sometimes back tech into stand fierce will work as well. It's just a character by character, situation by situation thing. But typically, if I want to do like wake up into some button, I'll do a quick rise. Not always. Anyway, I'm not mad at you. It's cool with me. Okay. So this stand fierce here. You probably are too far away to do any punish on the overhead, so that's cool. But great block. Was this on reaction? You just were betting it. I love it. I think that's a great call. People so often do look for that to get the stun. After that, you could have done probably forward roundhouse. I guess Seth maybe could have done backdash or dragon punch or something probably, but they're probably not going to do that stuff. So forward roundhouse activate could have been an option there. If that was supposed to have just been fierce hands, block then fierce hands, right? Use the block stun to actually input fierce hands. That's something that's pretty effective too in those situations where you don't actually have the frames and space to punish, but like you can turn that block stun into immediate pressure. Oh, in V-Trigger 2, you actually can't do fierce hands and activate. Yeah, never mind. But you could still do fierce hands if nothing else. So use those opportunities of significant negative frames to get something else, right? Rather, if you can't get a punish. Yeah, just a little bit too far. But again, the idea of the impulse to press a longer startup button there, I think, is totally good. It's just you would want one that has farther range, like forward roundhouse. Yeah. I mean, the player is mixing up well between hits and grabs at this point, and it's really hard to guess which one's coming next. Yep, keeping it to jab. Nice work. Oh, that was strong headbutt. Oh, punish. Nice. Oh, that's sick. I'm into that. Yep. There's a huge gap there. Heavy spin kicks plus, but it's got a really long startup. Okay, yeah, chasing a little bit here. After forward strong, I believe Seth's -2. It's your turn. Oh, you're looking good right now. I like this round. Ooh, a little bit too much taken. Tried to steal a little bit too much turnage. Ooh, quite a penalty as well. Is this it? That's gonna be close. V-Trigger super, which does more damage. Ooh, wow. That was a lot. That was a lot. So I like this whole sequence here. You were doing good stuff for a while, yeah. This, That's cool, right? Your plus, so take your turn. You expected the backdash chase. Great, looking really good. Walking up for the grab when they were uncertain. It's just the dash, right? So the player was ready for the dash in game number 1, round number 2, if I recall correctly. They weren't ready for the dash in game number 2, round number 1, I think. But you have a life lead, you have the positional advantage. You're against a character who can be really dangerous. Seth can explode on you so fast, which happened, unfortunately. So in those instances, you know, you might have the urge to capitalize as much as you can. I often feel that urge too. But as with the urge to suddenly escape the corner, right? The opponents will often expect that urge. This player has forced me into the corner. They have done a bunch of chip damage against me. They probably feel like I'm not going to be ready for this stuff, so they might dash, right? That could be the thought process of this Seth player. And again, as with previous stuff we talked about, it's not usually the case that somebody is thinking fast enough to have that whole spiel that I just mentioned, you know. Instead, it's just that they have recognized that you have done a lot of stuff, you've been very active, and that in their experience, when people are very active, they continue to be active, or maybe they even up the ante. That's more commonly the case than somebody being really active and then all of a sudden, backing off. It happens, but again, less commonly. So it's not this whole internal conversation during the actual match. Instead, it's thinking each time they've seen that in the past, right? It's kind of like collating the data from previous experiences and distilling it into, usually when people do a lot of stuff, they continue doing a lot of stuff. I feel like this song is way louder than the rest. Is that true? Right. Dang, that does so much. All right, well, Honda versus Seth. Yeah, again, I think there was that period of pressure in this round that I really liked. In fact, in that game, I thought there were two things that I was very encouraged by that I thought were really good from you. One was that pressure series that pushed Seth into the right corner until you dashed, right? But before then, I thought that was really nice. The other one is on the left side. I think it was at the beginning of this round, or it was the previous... It was the previous round, yeah. Yeah, this sequence, right? Where you are also pressuring, good, and then didn't overcommit. And you were ready for the jump. So those are really good signs. You know, you are interspersing strong pressure in here. You're making reads about what the opponent might do, and then reacting when they do the thing that you expect in the jump forward. There's a lot of good stuff in this as well. So this is now going to be you versus a jury player. Honda versus jury is one that I don't play very often. There's basically one jury player that I ever play against, and he's a really good player. It's Clegg Madness. It's like the only jury I ever run into on the West Coast here. But he's really strong. So this matchup is one that I feel like I don't know as well as Seth because I just haven't played it as much. But that feels evenish to me. Honda just does so much damage. The things that I like about it are that they, to me, both have similar-ish pressure, kind of similar normals, similar good buttons. Her pinwheel on hit can be similar to Honda's hands in terms of what your reactions are, what your options are afterward. But she's got such fast movement and some nice plus frames. So she's certainly a character to be taken seriously. It's Good jump back. Yeah, just get out of that situation. Again, right? You're ready for this. That's really good. For her, I think the best punish she gets is stand medium kick, which is not really that bad. And if you can push the opponent into the corner... Ah, it's this read, huh? Well, in the corner, when you're fully cornered, we'll go back and look at it later, but I think that's more reasonable. Wow, what a walk under. That was very interesting. Okay. Oh, tech, dude. Oh, good blocks. Let's go. Button. Yeah, that catches me all the time. V-trigger. Oof. Yeah, that pinwheel is like I'm talking about, right? It was the situation afterward is similar to hands. So let's go to check it out again. Yeah, great, looking good there. Minimal punish, no big deal. You tested it out as well, like we were having the previous conversation about. Butt slam, yeah. I guess they could walk under, in which case it would be punishable, but that doesn't seem likely. They did then just walk under EX right afterwards, so I wouldn't have guessed that one either. But you know, you have shown that you can deal with jump outs. You've had jump back jab a couple of times. So you certainly can be ready for that. And if you're making the read of what they're going to be doing in terms of jumping, yeah, just, you know, in that case, up the awareness that they might jump and then react as you have been with jump back jab, snap fierce, pierce headbutt, yada yada. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected walk under here either. EX is at least safe on walk under, it's only -2, but still, you give up the corner, so huge bummer. But I wouldn't have expected walk under either, to be honest. How about that? And then pinwheel, wow, what a choice. Good block, you know, good work. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, this right here. Yeah, it's not a common matchup, so I really have to try to remind myself not to press buttons in situations like this, because it really feels like, oh, she just did a, whatever, is this forward roundhouse? I don't remember. Into fierce, I think? I don't remember what buttons for her. But like, it is such a common bait that it's something that I really try to remember. Am I always successful at that? No, absolutely not. But just it is one of her most effective mix-ups with that V-trigger active. I wish that worked. I wish you could headbutt over the low shot. Nah, that would actually not be good. I mean, it would be great for Honda, but it would be pretty tough for Jury. Yeah, that's a lot of damage versus her, jeez. Okay. Oh, ooh, interesting. Okay, nice work. Oh, that's what I'm talking about, right? Look how ready you are. That's so good. Good stuff. And then the chase. Let's talk about this round. This round was great. There's so much good stuff that you did in this round. Right, you try to steal a little bit too much of a turn there with the dash, especially double dash. But, yeah, good old pressuring, you know, a little hit confirm here, nice work. Blocking as well there, understanding that the risk is going to be much less on grab. And the chase. Good work. Ooh, beautiful. Beautiful reaction. So they're now looking a lot for headbutts. They're jumping a lot. Oh, nice, man. Oh, yeah, that actually makes total sense. Just sick of it at this point. I wouldn't be surprised to see one again, to be honest. Yeah, oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, that makes sense. Got it! Oh, that could have been super! Would have been so cool! Ah! Get it? Oh no! Ooh! These last 2 rounds, you had so much good stuff. We'll go to the... let's talk about the end first, I guess, right? So, you could do... Trigger... This could be super, right? During the activation. If you could block here, you could have supered. Think about it like that. Like, if you aren't actually hit, then that means that you're free to do whatever you want. What you choose to do is block, but this could have been super just for the straight up end of the game. And during that screen freeze, you got some time to see what's going on and input. So instead, right, here we go. This could have been down forward roundhouse for the kill, because it OTGs. Could have been down forward roundhouse for the kill. And if instead they had done quick rise, then you're just gonna do a down forward roundhouse into super, right? Down forward roundhouse, jab super, or whatever, something like that. So there's a couple opportunities here for this to have been the end of the game. Oh, wake up super, yeah. You know, can't get it all right. All right, so let's go back and look at this. You didn't realize you didn't have meter. Okay, well that's a good lesson, and I'm glad that you paid attention to that afterward. That's a very good thing to have noted and to look for in the future. Good call. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Reactions like that. Mm-hmm. EX, nice. Ooh, what was this? Was this supposed to have been jump forward jab? Unexpected? Not sure? Okay, fair enough. Looks like a screw up, yeah, that would be my guess. Okay, you know. Nice. Now you've had down jab jab, hit confirm into jab hands a couple times. Could be EX hands, right? This could be hit confirm EX hands into stand short, strong headbutt. Could be more damage. I think that's more of an ideal, right? Eventually maybe that's something to aspire to, but right now I really like the fact that at least you are getting that hands damage. Could be into headbutt as well, could be jab jab headbutt. Some people like that instead. So EX, right? They get tired of it. Nice, I'm into it, yeah. Just really good Honda pressure. Yeah, this EX here. Right. It's okay, you know, I too oftentimes will think like, this may be a moment when the opponent is gonna do invincible option. Maybe, yeah, I'm not sure. I think to myself like, maybe. Should I stop pressuring or should I keep it up, right? I'm like thinking about this as I'm walking in after whatever knockdown or wherever it is. And I sometimes do make the decision, like, I think it's more likely than not that the opponent will do a wake up whatever it is, but I'll still do my pressure. The reason that I make that call is that there's just not much damage and stuff to be concerned about here. You know, this is, I don't know, it's not even 100 damage, right? It's like, it's not very much. It's complete loss of positioning for the opponent. If they're willing to bet that, you know, so be it, it's fine. And I want them to know that I'm unlikely to give up pressure, even in situations when it seems like they'll probably try to get out, right? I want them to believe that I'm always gonna be there pressuring. Sometimes I'm not gonna be, right? That's ultimately the mix-up, but I'm okay with that. What I'm trying to say is I'm okay with pressuring here. At the same time, you know, having seen previously that they did the EX pinwheel to get out, and then here, you know, you're in a similar situation of being very handsy, button, 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 hands, 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 headbutt, headbutt, which is great. I liked it a lot. But, you know, it does seem like a situation where somebody might be might be tired of holding on to block. Yeah, but look, there were a few opportunities for you to have taken this game, which I think is something to really come away with it on. It was activate super, it was V-trigger grab into down forward roundhouse OTG, or it was chip kill at the end. So, you had a bunch of chances, and it's a bummer that you didn't take it, right? I'm sure that doesn't feel good, but at the same time, you can take away like, hey, I was actually really close to doing this, which is great. Not easy to not dwell on the losses, of course, but it is also important to recognize when you were close to something being good and to think to yourself, okay, what was it that gave me that opportunity that like ultimately didn't quite work out, but how did I get into that opportunity in the first place? Like, what was I doing that was effective that then I dropped the ball for whatever reason, right? So you can think about like, yes, bummer at the end, but before that, super good, keep it up. Well, but that's, as you already mentioned it, right? I didn't even ask you why you didn't do something meaty. You said you're thinking about it already. I read Invincible Reversal and didn't realize she did not have meter, right? So you're aware, right? You're already cognizant that this is something to check for next time, right? Also, really encouraging. So I think there's a bunch to be taken from this game that is very positive. Oh, chance. Okay, yep, grab into the corners. Legit. Okay, the same read, right, and this is punishable. Yeah. Oh, the same read, oh no. Ooh, I get caught sometimes too, like I was saying before, yep. Oh no. Gonna be hard to make this without getting caught. Wow. Okay, what a specific read by the jury player. Alright, let's go back and check this out. So this round there's definitely some impatience. Maybe informed by how the last round went. I don't know, what do you think about that? Do you think that's part of why you're making bigger reads than you had been before? You're making some of the same reads, like the butt slam if you're expecting a jump, but you do it a few times, right? Yeah. Again, this is a situation where going into the corner, well, just doing butt slam in general is a little bit more than you need to do. But you could also take the lesson from this that things were working out. Grab, pressure, right? You had pressure, So you threw them into the corner, good idea. Immediately going for pressure, good idea. It's just that you went a little bit overboard, but still the idea of getting pressure there, controlling the corner, that's something that you're working on as well here. Yeah, that's what my read would be, that too. If I were the jury player and I saw, how the last round ended where you had a few chances, didn't quite work out, I wouldn't necessarily expect coming into the next game that you would be a little tilted, but having seen, I think this butt slam, I think I would think, okay, the player's a little bit concerned now. Yeah, especially at this point. And although this EX headbutt hits, this is kind of as I was talking about before. Sometimes when people do get off me type moves, invincible things, armored things like EX headbutt, even if it works, the value of it is almost negative, right? The value of this EX headbutt doesn't include pressure afterward. You've lost a bar. More importantly, you've told the opponent how concerned you are about what the situation was. So you have taught them. But if I were this jury, I actually would not feel too upset about getting EX headbutt. Yeah, I'm down in life, but even if this wasn't your intention, what I would read from that if I were the jury player is that my opponent is concerned about those situations and is and is a little tilted from how the previous game went. That would be my lesson. It might be the wrong lesson because you didn't mean to do it, but I think that would be a pretty natural way to take this situation. Ah, yeah. You think the misinput is likely due to tilt? Ah, okay. Okay. Well, it's a good point. Not easy to recognize. Well, I mean, maybe easy to notice, but not easy to like admit, right? So I think it's really good to admit that stuff. I think one characteristic of many of the strongest players that I know is that they're willing to say that kind of stuff. They're willing to just be like, yeah, I was wrong, mistake, I was tilted. Like they're willing to do that because that is part of how you recognize situations like that where things aren't going well enough to avoid them in the future. You have to give voice to that sometimes to be able to move past it. Yeah, yet again here. As far as the ending here of jumping over fireballs, yeah, they're looking for it. You know, if they had jumped and you had stayed on the ground, I don't think you get a punish here, but you probably do get plus frames at least after the light shot. I would think so anyway. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but if I were Honda in this situation and I didn't jump and they did jump with the air grab, I would try to press buttons when they landed. I'm not sure that's the right call, but that's what I would try to do at least. And this jump, I think, is the jump of somebody who is tired of how the match has gone. You know, you know that you're not going to die if you block the projectile because there's no chip kill like that. So it's more about just being annoyed is my takeaway from this. Yeah, okay. Jury air throw is rare and you weren't expecting it? True. Yeah, I wouldn't have specifically expected this. I think what I would have been more concerned about is just a straight up anti-air, like that she just does stand jab or stand fierce or whatever her anti-air button is, or just pinwheel. You know, it didn't need to be air grab, but it could have been. Yeah, it could have been any of those anti-airs, right? So. Yep, not a big penalty for that. Oh, really? Wow, okay, that was... Huh. Yeah, oh, okay, yeah, I was right. Dang, that sucks. Ooh, if the cancel had been there, it would have been good. Walked under again. How about that? Yeah, it's really not a common solution, but I like that they're doing this. Great, got a great chance again. Great chance again here. Ooh, no. Okay. I continue to see strong, good series here of pressure from you. So you got the corner. You know, you'd spend some life to do it. Their solution of jump back medium, I'm not sure it's the right call versus a headbutt, but you consistently get into the corner here. And this is a great spot. You didn't preemptively do the butt slam. Good work. You know, you block a little bit here. Good work. Stand fierce. Would think your intention is to do stand fierce into hands, probably. It's a good intention. It's a very strong intention. Immediate hands again. Cool with that. You know, EX butt slam. Hey, I do that all the time as well. I wouldn't have expected the walk under here either. So I like a lot of the pressure choices that you're using. Just blocking, hanging out, you know, again, you're here, right? Stand fierce probably intended to have been into hands, but directly into hands again. EX headbutt, and it's just this, right? This is the one thing. It ends up working out, you end up getting the kill anyway, but, you know, in the future, important to not do the back grab. This is a defensive concerned grab, right? This is the grab that you do if you're holding block at the same time, because you're like, what if they do wake up DP or super or something? in those moments, the way to handle that is just to think that you only need to let go of back for 1 frame to still get a normal grab, still get a forward grab. Now, you're not going to actually literally do a 1 frame gap on block, right? But just to say, like, you don't need to take that much time away from blocking to get a normal grab in this way. So what I do there is I'm holding back, let go of block, real briefly grab, reblock, real fast. Yeah, no, it's something maybe to just try out in training mode, just to see that you get it. It's get the idea, but get the timing real fast, right? Hold back on the stick or pad or whatever you got, and then briefly let go, grab briefly, and then back to block. It's just a very fast little timing. This is close though, dude. It's close. That's what I like, the timing there. It was later and it was after they were jumping, which is great. The butt slam read, yeah. Great block, great punish. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Deep, yeah, DP, makes sense. Wow, that was sick actually. Okay. That was on reaction. Let's see. It was screen freeze dash forward pinwheel? I've never seen anybody do that. That was awesome actually. Props to this jury player. That was super cool. Again, I like the later timing of this headbutt. That's cool. Butt slam, I think here, yeah. You see, one of the issues with butt slam is that you're not just calling out jump, you're calling out specific timing and placement of jump. And if they jump at the too close spot, kind of earlier timing, it's just not going to work out anyway. So this is a very specific read. And I like when you have the anti-airs, because you've had anti-airs and air-to-airs a bunch. You're absolutely capable of doing that. It's something you've shown quite a bit in these 2 sets. Yeah, beautiful. One thing I've noticed a lot is that when you do EX butt slam, it's always, I think it always has been, the hold back EX butt slam. Are you trying to hold for headbutt charge simultaneously maybe? Because one of the reasons that they're able to do the walk under EX butt slam a couple of times in the corner is that the first hit doesn't connect. Probably, yeah. So if the first hit connects, they can't then walk under it. Sure, you can do other stuff. She can just do EX pinwheel, but after blocking the first hit, right? She can just invincible through the second part of it, but not walk. So I would like to see more of, like, one of the great things about EX butt slam is that it's got this huge range, this huge column, essentially, of a hitbox. And that can be a nearly vertical column when you're doing it as you did it here. Almost vertical, just not that much horizontal range. Or it can be like half the stage, or half the screen, not stage. It can be like half the screen. It can be huge. And you have to play with that sometimes as far as when you think you should nail somebody who's jumping away. If you're reading a jump away, then EX butt slam's cool. That can work. It's really fast, right? It hits really fast on the way up. 8 frame startup. Ooh, wow. Yeah, very, very common situation to do a DP. As we were watching, right, I began to say the word DP before they said that it did the EX. What's so common about this is that there were just a couple of jumps, jump, and air-to-air, causing a reset in which the opponent was going to be taking a defensive mix-up. Very, very common to see EXDP or something invincible or armored or whatever in this situation here. So again, it's not really that you're saying all this to yourself. It's not that you're saying all of it to yourself. It is instead that you've just been in the situation enough and you have made the categorization in your head as to what you should pay attention to, right? One of the things is, was there just multiple jumps into an air-to-air reset, putting the opponent on a defensive spot? And if that's just one of the things that you're holding in your brain that could come up, when it does come up, it's easier to recognize it, right? So again, it's a lot of this is thinking beforehand, before the match, and kind of, yeah, bringing together the history of what you've seen happen, thinking actively after you see something happen. Oh, is this something I should categorize for the future? What were the few things that led up to this situation that did or did not work out in my favor that I can maybe, think about as one of these little moments that I could maybe identify next time in advance. It's a very difficult thing to read if you have the mindset that it's an individual interaction. I mean, in the most literal sense it is, but in another sense, it's just part of a long trend of how people tend to react to situations. And making reads is very commonly just that, just understanding that it's, nobody's doing any of these things in a vacuum. This is not the first time that two players have gotten into a jumpy jump, air-to-air reset situation with one of them having an EXDP lined up. This happens all the time, right? So making reads is more commonly about understanding these larger pictures and trends and then applying it to an individual situation, rather than trying to make the almost binary choice in moments like this of pressure or not, right? This is a pressure or not situation in one sense. Should you do any attack or grab? That's pressure. Should you not? That's not pressure. You can boil it down if you want, but that doesn't tell you much about what's likely to happen, and it doesn't really help you decide what to do for the future. So the kind of individual moment view is not really going to be helpful long term. So when this happens, this is an opportunity, right? You have the screen freeze. You can see that whatever the button is starting up. Forward roundhouse, I think? I don't know. That she does a little stab here. Stab. Yeah, that might be a chance to bring out the V trigger to armor during that moment, right? During the screen freeze. She whiffed it, so it's also a chance, right? You see this chance for at maximum, right? Unlikely to happen in the moment, but maximum. This is like stand fierce, EX, hands, stand jab, light hands, V trigger, command grab, right? Like whatever. But you could get something. You could do this. Could be stand jab into jab headbutt or whatever. And very good demonstration of this same exact thought process of using screen freeze as a way to know what's going on, because the player does that immediately thereafter. And again, in a way that I haven't seen anybody else do. This is a super sick idea. So they saw that you were beginning your jump backwards. They know that in trigger she has a super far fast dash, and they get the pinwheel, right? Really good solution. So just using that little bit of time there to get a little peek at what's coming next, and then being able to respond can be really handy. You mostly just get to do that once around, screen freeze. But yeah, it can be really helpful. Sometimes you do it, sometimes you can do it on reaction to stuff. You see them jump into the sky. This is a very classic example. They jump, you do screen freeze, and you use that time to input super or dragon punch or headbutt or whatever, right? That's a really common way to use it. So it's on reaction, but maybe you're not comfortable enough with the time that you have to do a DP, or maybe you don't have back charge yet for headbutt, whatever. You could use screen freeze for that. But also sometimes you just do screen freeze, right? You just do V-trigger because like you want to be in V-trigger, which is fine. Sometimes when that happens, you'll see that they're whiffing something, That's all. And if you do, then you can take advantage of that. So, okay. Hey, look, I really like some of the pressure series that I'm seeing out of you. I think there are good things to build on. I really like that sometimes we see you do pressure series and then you're also still keeping an eye on jump and then reacting with jump back jab or jump back strong. Those are really good moments. And that's, I think, a big part of what strong Honda play is built around. But on top of that, yeah, I think what I would like you to do most, I think one of the things that I most would want you to work on is just trying to view situations as part of this like larger story, part of these larger trends about how things could be going and lessons to learn from that. And next time you play, thinking about it afterward, okay, what was the situation that came up? At first, it might be hard for you to think about like which categories you should come up with, right? Which makes sense. But the more that you just try it, it's okay. If it's ultimately is something that comes up rarely, no big deal, right? You still have the kind of practice of trying it out and trying to think about like, all right, what led up to that? How did I respond? Was that the right way to respond? Maybe I should respond this way. And the more that you engage in that exercise, the more effective it'll be, the easier it will be for you to integrate that into your decision making in the moment. A really big part of fighting games is offloading your in the moment decisions to your previous preparations. It's a huge part of being successful in this or like any fast strategy game, right? Just having a quick, almost shorthand for what you should be doing that you've already thought about. You don't need to think about it in the moment. That way it's easier to respond. You don't need to adapt, right? Instead you have almost a muscle memory stored in your brain that you'll do or that you'll use to make a decision. Well, yeah, I think there's substantial good stuff. This could have been your game. You could have won this match for sure. Thinking in the moment is stressful. It is stressful. You're not alone in that. So part of why it's so valuable to have other thoughts to sort of bring in preparation is that it means that you have less thinking in the moment to do, right? Rather than thinking about each individual decision as its own thing that's unrelated, in which case you each time have to weigh the balance of, I'm not even sure how you would handle it if it was an individual situation that you were unfamiliar with. It would be really tough. If instead you view them as parts of the larger back and forth between you and the opponent, or between you and like everybody in the world that you've played before, then there's less thinking in the moment. Now, there's a lot of thinking outside of the moment to set that stuff up. A lot of practice, but in the moment, less thinking, more decision making, less stress because you feel more prepared. Big part of it, I would say. But yeah, good stuff. Like I said earlier, I think this is a really fun, interesting thing to do. I love breaking down match analysis. I love the excuse to do it, that somebody actually asked me to do it. So thank you very much. I'm super happy. And thank you, of course, for supporting on Patreon. That's been amazing as well. If anybody else watching would like any kind of match analysis in this way, absolutely happy to help. This is a character that I know particularly well, of course, in Honda, but a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here is not really Honda specific. It's a little bit more Street Fighter general, or even just fighting games in general. So there's a lot to talk about that doesn't need to necessarily be character specific, and hopefully can be helpful for other people too.